Mondays are news and schmooze. After that is pace, which is an exercise for people with arthritis. Tuesday is usually my day off. Wednesday is, again, pace and mahjong. Thursday is usually the Dell's Angels, which is the choir that belongs to the J. And occasionally we go to nursing homes and assisted living places to give the people there some entertainment. On Fridays we have the mitzvah knitting groups. I never dreamt that I would have such a wonderful life in my later years.
When we design the experiences that we want to provide for the Jewish community, that doesn't taper off because of people's senior years. We want it to be constant. We want there to always be things that connect people to each other, to experiences, and that are rooted in the Jewish community.
I was never one to be able to join these different organizations and take part in things. I always stood back. Within the 5 years I had the 3 children, so they were one after the other. But so it was very difficult for me to be busy with anything else. It is so wonderful to be embraced by the community, and wherever I go, everyone seems to know me. And I enjoy, just keeping in touch with people. They keep in touch with me. I live alone. I don't have to sit home and look at the 4 walls all day long. I have a place to go to. I have friends that I have made, and I enjoy my life here. It changed me. By moving here, I changed to somebody that I would have liked to have been.
Because of the annual campaign, Shalom Austin is able to serve the community, especially those in their later years of life that may feel isolated, that may feel disconnected. We have all of these programs, but they're only wonderful people like Blanche participate in them. So to know that we're the reason that someone gets out of their apartment every day, and we're the reason that people have friends, and we're the reason that people feel joy and connection to the Jewish community is the best. But it's even better that we have people like Blanche and like our regulars in adult programming to come around, to bring the joy, to add the energy, to show up, to fill our rooms, and to let us know that it matters.
I have been embraced by the Jewish community at Shalom Austin, and this is what I hoped for in my later years. I've come out of a shell, I've met wonderful people, and not have to worry, will I be happy here? Will I not be happy here? I am happy here.
Well, I'm a big believer in fate, and it was one of those moments. I was sitting at work, life was kind of at a crossroads. I was 27 years old, and the phone rang, and it was Tony Meyer from the Jewish Federation of Dallas. And he said, we're putting together a singles mission to Israel. Would you be interested in attending?
We really wouldn't have met if it weren't for the birthright trip, even though we both were students at UT.
And then I heard Jeff was going, and he was actually living in Austin at the time, but he was going to go with the Dallas group. And it was one of those things where I had this feeling that we were going to end up together. I even told my dad before the trip, I have this feeling that I'm going to end up with Jeff Newberg.
I didn't know that.
I got really involved after birthright. I was on the executive cabinet, and I worked as a greeter, so I was the face that you saw when you walked into Hillel. So I was really involved. I remember you coming to visit me.
And I really wanted to be with Heather, so so I became very involved in Hillel as well.
We give to a lot of organizations, but Shalom Austin is where our heart is. That is what we're both very passionate about. We're both very proud Jewish people.
For me, the JCC campus, the Dell Jewish Community Campus, is the heart and soul of the Austin Jewish community. And it's not just the buildings, but it's the programs and the people.
And the first time I found out I was Jewish was probably like 6 months or so right before we left to America. And when I came to America, I was kind of inundated with Judaism because the Jewish groups were really helping us. And so it's been really neat for me to be in a place where I could think back to all those people that made me who I am today and think I could be one of those people now too. I can help others.
It's your community that's there for you. And one thing I could say about our Jewish community is they have been there for us every step of the way in good times and bad. And I hope that we've been there for our friends and even people we don't know. I mean, to me, that's part of what being Jewish is about. We take care of each other.
Organizations just like Shalom Austin and organizations that Shalom Austin supports have impacted us our entire lives. They've brought us together. They've supported our families.
It's been kind of interesting for us to think about what does it mean to give back and how do you give back in a way that's very meaningful.
To know that our commitment to the annual campaign for Shalom Austin, that those dollars go all over the world to Israel and to other communities where Jewish people are underserved, to know that we're reaching those people.
It's all about making a difference. And that's what your gift to Shalom Austin does, is it makes a difference.
We grew up outside of Chicago. My dad was a self-made guy. He loved being Jewish, and he loved Jewish charities, and he loved fundraising, and so I grew up in that milieu my entire life. When I was 16, I went on a project with the Jewish Federation, and we worked with all sorts of different agencies, Jewish agencies around the city of Chicago, and I looked at it from someone from the outside looking in. And I don't think in my life I ever expected to make a call to Jewish Family Service.
Jewish Family Service offers the community a place for compassionate and confidential care when life throws up a challenge, whether that's big or small. Through some of our programs like emergency financial assistance and our food pantry, we serve as a safety net for the community.
We had a medical problem in our family, and it threw us for a loop, and it happened quickly, and it almost broke us. There was 1 month we didn't have enough to make our utility bills, and I've paid for other people's utilities in my life. I never thought I'd be in that position. And Jewish Family Service paid our utility bills. As my wife was preparing to enter the workplace, we were struggling with trying to figure out childcare. And it was the same thing. It was in a counseling conversation with Jewish Family Service. And they suggested J Camp. And I was like, it's honestly nothing we can afford. And they encouraged me to apply for a scholarship.
One of the main core values that guides Shalom Austin is Kehillah, community. Providing assistance for these kids and their families to attend camp and have this experience is so transformative and so meaningful.
My kids going to J Camp brought Judaism into our house. They drive Shabbat dinner now, they drive the candles, they drive the songs, they drive the feelings, they drive the mindfulness and the time we put aside for it. This wouldn't have been possible if my kids weren't at J Camp this summer, and this wouldn't have been possible without Jewish Family Service, and this would not have been possible without the greater Austin Jewish community.
The annual campaign makes everything we do possible. 90% of our budget comes from the annual campaign and from the caring community that donates to that campaign year after year.
I have to tell you, it was not easy taking money from the Jewish community. It was something that always flowed in the opposite direction in my family. And the epiphany came with realizing that this is why my dad gave to the Jewish community. This is why he sacrificed for the Jewish community. When I used to ask my dad how much he would give to charity, he would say, you always have to give enough tzedakah so that it hurts. You have to feel it. And that struck me. And so this is my opportunity to honor my father and to honor his spirit of tzedakah, which was in his DNA. And so to be able to give back to the Jewish community, in 2020, I can't write a big check. I'd love to. I hope you do. But what I can do is I can share my story, and I can share how we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Jewish community. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for JFS. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Shalom Austin. And that every little bit you do helps, and it helps people of all walks of life. It helps Jews of all walks of life.